Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody on the outside and in between, my name is Patrick. This is the Epic Loot Gaming Channel, and today we've got a once in a lifetime stream, something I've been wanting for years. So yes, it's true. I finally have hacked into the UO devs accounts, and I found some really juicy stuff. And I said, guys, it's interview time, or I'm leaking this to the world. So yeah, that's not really what happened. I'm lucky enough today to be interviewing. Hey, Mr. Perry, 3 years, bro. Thank you for that. I appreciate you, brother. I am lucky enough to be interviewing the head developer from Ultima Online. That's how nervous I am. Greg, I'm going to butcher your last name, Havlek. His name's Greg. Okay. His name's Greg. Deal with it. Kyronix. Good man. We've been talking back and forth through emails through quite some time now. My life has finally come to a point where I can sit down with this man and berate him with my inquisitive questions, if you will. So some of the questions you're going to be asked today, they're going to be kind of the same, some of the same things that have been asked, a little bit different, with the Patrick kind of twist to it. While we are also talking, the plan for the stream is I'm just gonna parade this man around Sonoma. I'm gonna show him the cool things on Sonoma. We're gonna hang out at my castle. We're gonna do bro things, and it's gonna be great. But I'm gonna be honest here. I know y'all aren't here to listen to me chat. So, without any further ado, Kyronix himself, aka Jack of Sonoma. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's a pleasure. It's been a long time coming. I'm glad that you were finally able to join me, and I was finally able to get some free time to bust this bad boy out.
Definitely. Yes, I am also known as Jack of Sonoma today.
I love the color. I love the color of the shirt. You're looking very trendy, very nice in your turquoise. Match my front door, so I like it.
Absolutely. Total noob outfit.
So I was just letting the folks know what they're in store for. Essentially, we're going to just take a little tour of Sonoma. We're going to check some things out as we're chit-chatting about these questions. I've set Greg the questions just so there's no surprises. And of course, just to make it seem not so scripted, because you guys know I suck at reading, I've got like dumbed down bullet point versions. So don't worry, we're going to be good.
Awesome, let's do it.
All right, rock and roll. So first things first, I want to, if you don't mind, actually here, let me park this guy so we're not taking old stew eater out here since you're on foot. We're going to take a little lap around Luna if you're okay with that.
A Luna lap sounds like a delight.
Yeah, just a little Luna lap. Something that's a little different about Sonoma when it comes to this town. I was able to place 2 houses that had fallen in Luna over my times here. So I think that's something that's I've always really thought was cool, was just, our nice little shard when there's an open spot. We can take it. So
yeah, I think the smaller shards definitely don't get as much press as, say, like Atlantic, for example. But I play a smaller shard. I'll let you guys guess which one, but I love it. It's a great community, and because it's like things you just mentioned, there's actual room for housing, and you don't have to sell your soul to find a good spot to place a house. So they're I think some of our most cherished communities.
Now you're going to be disgusted when we get to the lower half of Luna, because there's people don't know how to build houses properly. I'm apologizing now, but there's a bunch of blank spots down there where there's just people who have spots just to gloat about them. So we've actually given, if I recall, I think I've given both houses away to just guild members and viewers and stuff like that. I'm more of an 18 by 18 kind of guy. I got to have my space.
Yeah, I think I started with a 7x7, and then when Tram opened up, I was able to get a small sandstone patio. And I forget what shard I was on, but somebody had placed a villa in the same spot. It was right at the north end of Blackthorn Bay, and I was like, oh my god, I could put a villa there. And I waited until like 3 o'clock in the morning because I was terrified somebody was going to steal the spot from me. So then I placed the villa. And then from there, I got, oh, let's see, I think I got a tower for a little while. And then I got an 18 by 18.
Those 18 by 18s, as much as I love the classic designs, they're just so nice to have.
Yeah,
So
because you get to pick your own.
so these are the plots I was telling you about. You can ban these people whenever you'd like. This I wanted to bring it to your attention that there are people like this who just don't know what they're doing. Especially this guy up here, Aiden. I've been yelling at him for 3 years now. 3 years I've been yelling at this man. So some people are just minimalists. Now we're gonna ask some questions. I kind of have them sectioned up into little segments, if you will. And the first thing I want to talk about is that Rifted Crown event. You ready to kind of tackle some of those questions?
Sure.
All right, cool. So I just want to know a little bit more about the event, kind of what the story or gameplay is going to be like, what we're kind of stepping into, and do you see it being something that is going to be valuable for returning or new players as well as the current player base?
Yeah, so let's first start with the fictional basis for it, because that's kind of how we start all the event design.
Cool.
So what we've really tried to do, if you've been following the story, is bridge the story that is occurring on New Legacy with what is going on in production. So there's been some definite crossover themes,
All right.
if you've noticed. And in this next event, we kind of bring that home without spoiling too much. Some of the things you can look forward to from a fictional standpoint are the introduction of a new antagonist, the return of a familiar protagonist. Let you all chew on that one and try and figure out which one I'm talking about.
Goodness.
And what it is all based on is what is almost core to the Ultima Online experience, and this kind of idea of a battle of ideology when it comes to the virtues. Kind of goes back to that iconic scene that's written about in some of the in-game fiction with Lord Blackthorn and Lord British. We like to kind of shed new light on those themes, and we're doing that in this event. So, from a fictional basis, it will tie what's going on from New Legacy and then bringing that over to production. And then, as you might guess, tie that back into New Legacy. So, we're kind of doing this like cross pollination story thing, and it's allowed us to explore some really interesting kind of narrative elements and fictional elements. From
That's
a
beautiful.
from a gameplay perspective, um, so right now the whole event is going through internal QA. Our very talented designer Parallax,
Mm-hmm.
aka Nick, did a fantastic job with this event, as he does always. And what I really love about this one is we get to blow some stuff up.
Oh,
As a matter of fact, we get to blow some big stuff up. So if you checked out the vet rewards that we released earlier this year, and you look at the name of this upcoming event that we teased out, there may or may not be an opportunity to lay siege to something. Just saying? Question mark. So I took a look at all those mechanics that Nick put together today. It's really cool because it's something we've never done before in UO with this scale. So we'll see what happens when it gets to TC1, but at least internally it's pretty sweet. So you
oh,
get to blow stuff up. It's a multi part encounter, so there's different stages to it. Um, Sort of kind of like how we did Shadow Guard, but not necessarily with like how you have to complete each of the rooms, but taking that same idea where you are experiencing different encounters at each stage of the event, all working towards boss fights, and then, of course, being able to redeem rewards for participating in all of that. One of the things that we've tried to do every time we've done a live event is take the lessons that we've learned and apply them to the next event as best we can, so that we can create as much of a kind of balanced experience when it comes to earning the reward. So, for example, like if we go back to the town invasions that we did with the elemental titans and all that, one of the major complaints that people had was like, oh, this is great, but everybody just is after these really elite spell books, and everybody just comes in, kills those guys, and then they bounce, and the rest of the town is left to kind of just sit there. So we've reworked how we design our reward paradigms around that. So you'll get participation credit throughout the event. And then there are limits to how much you can get at each stage of the event. So this way, there is incentive to participate in the entire event. And then you can redeem those rewards at the end from a vendor. So this way, there's not as much RNG to it. There's definitely going to be rares and things like that. We've got a bunch of stuff hidden that obviously I'm not going to tell you where it is, but there's still going to be that random element to it. But we want to try and strike that balance so that it's not as punishing an experience, but also, you got to have a little bit of a slot machine element to it, because that's kind of what keeps you wanting to go back for just a little bit more.
Right. Yeah, we love our pixels for sure.
And we've got some really sweet new pixels. Let's see, what can I tease out? We've got some new equipment, paper doll equipment. We've got obviously the Clydesdales that we've talked about. It's going to be a new mount that's coming out. We've got. Do I want to talk about that one? Sure, why not? One of our newer artists, you guys probably met her during our roundtable, Billy. She just has taken to doing some really amazing pixel art for us in such a huge way. And you got a little preview of it with some of the stuff that came out in the last event on New Legacy. But she did this really cool obelisk looking thing that you'll get a chance to see. She made these really cool crystals that you'll have an opportunity to steal from some hidden chests. I guess I did tell you where the stuff is hidden. Oh well, break out those thieves. There's more hidden stuff. That's not all of it, but yeah, she's done an incredible job bringing that stuff to life. So we're really excited for it.
GM Wyvern, thank you for the sub, man. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the support. Of course, it has to be thieves. The one of the two characters I don't have, but hiring a thief for the upcoming event, FYI.
To the other part of that question, you asked me about new and returning players and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely going to be more end game content, right? Like for production events, it's for these big kind of siege level events. You do want to have a developed character.
Yeah.
Right now, as far as our new and returning player experience, we are focusing on New Legacy, as we've talked about. There's been a lot of discussion about that, and we've seen players say, there's like a weeks long kind of discussion that happened on the forums that we were following about, how does New Legacy fit into the broader Ultima Online experience and all this kind of stuff. And what we want people to know is that people digest games in a bunch of different ways today. And when you're dealing with something like UO that's been around so long, we have to adapt to how people consume their gaming time these days, right?
Correct.
When I was, 15 years old and playing UO 40 hours a week, no problem. Those days are long gone. Even if I wasn't working and I was playing on it, maybe you have an hour here or an hour there. So we want to be able to accommodate those play sessions and make the game as accessible as possible. People are constantly asking, like, what can you do to bring in new players? What can you do to, repopulate certain areas that have seen those populations suffer over the years? And that's the way we do it. We have to make the game accessible. We have to make it so that it fits into as many different types of schedules and gaming habits as possible. So New Legacy offers us the ability to do that. We certainly don't intend on, nor are we going to abandon production. We love our production players. We know New Legacy isn't for everybody. But at the same time, we are a small team, but I think what you're going to find as we get into this next production event and as we move into the later part of this year and next year, you're going to have a lot of those same seasonal events that you love and all the classic UO experiences that all of our production folks love. So it's a little something for everybody there.
That's beautiful. That's good. That's I've said this a few times recently, and I just want to say it again. I think you guys are doing a really good job with the direction that everything is going. So
Well,
it's
thank you.
yeah, you've got a lot of people in press and a lot of people just sitting on the edge of their seats wondering what's going to happen, and it just sounds like a bright future so far.
Yeah, and that's what we want. Our intention is to see this community thrive for the next 30 years and beyond. So,
I love it. So we're going to go to my castle because I like to show off my
oh, yeah.
castle. But something about my castle here. It is adorned in Sonoma EM rare. Just not a lot, but enough. Enough that I think it really speaks volume. Oh, we got a gate issue. There he is. Jack made it. Okay. I think it's going to speak volumes on the cool things our EM has been doing. Let me see if I can add you in here. Boop. There you go. Well, this is the place to do it. There is so much junk in this. I'm terrible with like what I do. Look how terrible this is. There's just stuff everywhere. But
oh, you've got all.
Go ahead.
You've got all the goodies.
Do you see this dog here? Those things, I cherish these things. I'm a huge dog guy, and when I got that, I was like, "Yep, mine."
Yeah, that was all. That was a. Gosh, I don't. We did these. Probably going on 10 years ago at this point, but that was a Bonnie thing. She obviously has a huge love for dogs, so the sleeping puppies were her idea, and then Jim did the Onifart, or one of our artists. He did the creme de la creme with the little belly when they were sleeping and everything. I just love this thing.
There's the kitten too. I'm not a big cat fan, but I had to grab
No,
a
I've
cat for the
heard.
collection.
No, I've heard. A lot of people told me I should bring a cat when I up to this thing.
You know, there's worse on our shard, trust me, but I'm not the biggest fan. So, over the years, well, we were talking about some things. One of the things you mentioned was the Clydesdales. I am very hyped to have access to new horses, just new horse models in general. So I think that's really neat. And as far as like the question I kind of posed was, how do you think that'll impact player experience? And honestly, it's going to be a pretty pixel for them to ride. My question really is there going to be more pretty pixels coming down the pipeline to ride?
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I think, one of their, like, so when you start thinking about, like, what are the core experiences in UO, right? Like, what are the pillars of any good MMO? And one of them is character customization.
Yes.
And, one of the ways we can customize our characters is through what we ride. So we are blessed and cursed when it comes to the implementation of new models in the UO engine. Blessed in that we have Jim, who is an incredible 3D modeler, and the monsters that he creates are absolute nightmare fuel. If y'all played any of the most recent publish on New Legacy, all those weird void monster things, like he did all of those, and I legitimately was uncomfortable watching them when he was doing it because they just freaked me out so much.
Was he also responsible for the meatball boss?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
they're great, but they're terrible. Oh,
Yes.
they remind me of Langoliers from Stephen King, and I think I watched that movie when I was like a kid, and when it was on network television, it scarred me for life.
I
But
would be fearful if this man was a dungeon master in Dungeons and Dragons because the
he
creatures he's
is,
created.
he is.
Oh
Oh
my
God,
lord.
I'll tell you a quick story. One of the things that we used to do was play a tabletop role playing game called Savage Worlds,
Okay.
and it was Jim was the dungeon master, and the experiences were incredible because Jim is obviously a very talented and creative person, but I've only had the opportunity to play with him as the DM, but I would be hard pressed to find another dungeon master with as much um, talent as him, because he would do like character voices and like really animated. Plus, he's an artist, so you just throw that on top of there, and oh gosh,
I love it.
it was a ton of fun. But anyway, I digress.
All right, come out here, sit on this green chair, and we're going to move on to our next set of questions about the classic client. But first, sit on
Ooh,
this chair and then get up and stretch your legs.
throwing a pure wildfire. This seems like a bad idea.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so you guys gave us a gift earlier with the browser client, the new browser client that you guys have released, and in my opinion, it has revitalized the game for a lot of us players. Now, I know you all are working on a classic client upgrade.
Mhm.
We know that like later this summer it's going to be coming out and everything like that. How does it stack up? Is it going to be similar to what we're playing on this browser? I know that you guys had planned on doing some stuff with the FPS and everything, and are we just going to have essentially a third client to choose from, or is it going to take over the browser client?
Gotcha. So the classic UO web client is developed by a third party, so
Mm-hmm.
they'll continue to do their thing. We still have the relationship with the guys at Classic UO Web, and what they put together is fantastic, which is why we were so excited to be able to offer that on as an option for people to play.
Beautiful.
What we're doing with the classic client upgrade, there's some boring back end part of it, and then there's the kind of new hotness on the front end of it.
Oh,
So the boring back end of it is that the original UO client dates back to the late 90s. And without getting too far into the weeds, the strategy that was adopted was to basically move towards the Stygian Abyss client, which is now the enhanced client, as kind of the upgraded client, right?
okay.
We've always supported the classic client, but over the years, this gosh dates back to the probably mid 2000s. The emphasis was to branch off, create the 3D client, all that kind of stuff, right? Fast forward to today, and we have two clients, as you know. We have the enhanced client, and the classic client. One of the biggest pieces of feedback that we got with the launch of New Legacy was that the client's performance was not what people expected. And a lot of that had to do with the frame rate.
Mm-hmm.
So, in order for us to begin to tackle that, there was a tremendous amount of back end upgrades that needed to happen from an engineering standpoint. So, Stephen, our intrepid engineer who keeps the machines a humming, has been knee deep in that project for the past couple of weeks here. And one of the first big milestones on that was getting the client to build uh, on an upgraded platform. Basically, we needed to bring the client to a point where he could build it with newer development software
Okay.
because we haven't upgraded the classic client in I think ever. So that was the first heavy lift. The next part of that project is to upgrade the renderer so that the client window can offer up to a 60 frame per second frame rate, which
Okay.
is what you see in the classic UO web client. The other part of that is to make the gameplay window adjustable. Now that's more of a reach goal. That's like the second part of the graphics update. Um, but those are the two things we're focusing on in the short term.
Okay.
Once we get that to the point where we're comfortable with its stability and everything like that, then we can start looking at the additional quality of life upgrades that are going to go into the classic client and what kind of engineering resources that's going to take. So right out of the gate, it's not going to like I snap my fingers and immediately replace or replicate the classic UO web client. We want to be real clear about that.
Okay.
It's got to be a stepwise approach from our end, just based on how the development process is working. Plus, we want to have a period where we can interact with the community and find out specifically what features they would want to see in an upgraded classic client so that we can prioritize those. There was a question recently where somebody asked about some of the old school approved third party programs like UO Assist and things like that.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
it is our it is our hope that none of that is affected, and it shouldn't be affected. But we have to see how things go. Remember, those are third party clients that are developed by third party people. So if there's an issue with UO Assist, it's not like we can go and fix UO Assist.
Right.
You know, um, at the same time, too, there's obviously going to be a feedback period, a testing period, which we're looking to get into in the summertime here. So, no, don't worry. It's not like we're going to just like, okay, here's a new client. No, no, it's not like that. It's going to be a slow burn. It's a longer term project. So we'll have ample opportunity for community feedback and to make sure that we get it right because the majority of our users use this client. So we want to make sure that it functions properly. Also, too, on a personal level, I'm a classic client guy. So
Oh, I love that. I love that. You know, I don't want to say fought. I've squabbled with my community for years. They tried to get me to play on the enhanced client before the browser came out because I had my complaints, and
yeah,
I just refused. I was like, nope, I never played the 3D client. I'm not going to play the enhanced client. I am a classic till the day I die guy. So I just, again, I absolutely love what you guys are doing and the focus on, in my personal opinion, the thing that really brings the players back, and it's that nostalgic look. It's that 2D top down angle. Just that is what I craved anytime I left this game, and coming back to it was always just amazing. So I love that we haven't been forgotten.
no, not at all. And I think that is one of the, you know, I think one of the responsibilities that I have is to make sure that we are preserving a look and feel for the game as much as possible, so that we aren't completely going off the rails. Now, fortunately for us, Ultima's a at this point nearly 50-year-old intellectual property, and we've got plenty of source material to. Somebody recently was like saying something about the Eodon and dinosaurs, like, "Oh, those aren't part of Ultima." And I was like, "No, they made a whole game about it."
I
Um,
I saw that post. Yeah,
yeah, I
I
was like,
like
"No,
I like to bring some of that stuff to light sometimes. Like I'll go hop on the forums during my stream and just kind of like just outwardly question people. Like why are you like this person? And that was definitely one of the things. I was like, please learn the history of our game a little bit here. But yeah, like it's neat that people get defensive about it, but at the same time, I love it that we can back it up with facts. Be like, nah, there's dinosaurs.
yeah, exactly." Yeah, no, and that's very valid feedback. One of the things I learned in game dev school was that all feedback, regardless of what it is, it comes from a place of like emotion, right? It's an
Right.
emotional response. So, for somebody to say that, like, yeah, okay, this is probably not what you're used to or expected, depending on when you started playing the game. But that's fine. Eodon wasn't for everybody. Um, but for some people it was, and dinosaurs are cool, so we got some dinosaurs. Um, who knows where we go next? I would be hard pressed to see. I don't think we will take it onto like the Martian Dreams level spaceships and ray guns.
Oh, thank goodness.
That was pretty jarring. If you ever played, my favorite video game of all time is Might and Magic. What is it, 6? The Mandate of Heaven. And to me, that is one of the most quintessential RPG experiences. And you play through this game, it is incredible. And the last like 10% of it, you basically go from being a medieval knight wielding swords and shields to getting blasters and destroying like an alien mothership. Um, and to me, it was cool, it was fun, but it always was like, this is so jarring. But you also have to remember that back in the day, like that kind of genre blending was very common. So, but yeah, have no fear, no spaceships anytime soon.
Oh,
Maybe
thank
next day.
goodness. No, don't. We're not Fortnite. Don't do this to us. We don't need
Yeah,
Nikes. We don't need spaceships. We do need
yeah.
hot air balloons. I always thought hot air balloons was a hot topic that never really got answered properly, but we'll tackle that some other time. Um,
Yeah.
so you kind of answered some of my questions about the new legacy stuff, as far as like, obviously you guys have been listening to the feedback. It's obviously influencing the direction you guys are taking new legacy and helping with future updates. One thing that I have noticed, that no matter where it's stated or where it's written down, I feel like we're constantly squabbling over what the shattering event really is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was kind of wondering, just out of your mouth, can you tell us exactly what's going to happen when it shatters? Are we leaving New Legacy and starting a fresh character? Are we taking our pets with us? Like, I know you can't speak on everything, but there's so many questions that are, I don't know why, as a community, we're misinterpreting them. So
Yeah, I
can you
think
help?
it's. I mean, it's natural to like be to be curious about the unknown, right? So there's definitely a ton of that. So if we go back to the FAQ on the new legacy page,
Yep,
blah
yep.
blah blah. What happens when the world shatters? Uh, duh, 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 duh. At the conclusion of each season of Ultima Online, the world will end in a cataclysmic event and will be reborn with fresh adventures to be had and a new legacy to be forged. So, what exactly does that mean in terms of what you can transfer off of it? So, at the end of the season, it's not going to be like a hard stop where, like, on Monday the shard is open and on Tuesday we publish out the shattering and it's like, bloop, that's it, right? No, it's not like that.
Okay.
Basically, when the shattering begins, it will kick off with an event in New Legacy Publish 3, and that will bring a cataclysm. Obviously, we know the world's going to end. That will tie into all of the fictional events that have happened on the Shard, both production and New Legacy for that matter, kind of to a crescendo, right? And you'll play through that event, and ultimately it will lead to the end of the world as we know it. Now, you'll all feel fine, but um, you'll be able to transfer off to any shard except the siege rule sets. You can't transfer those, assuming you have space on the character list there, with items that fall into the following categories: legacy items, pets, decorations, and non consumable Ultima Store items, pending a final audit of what can and cannot be transferred with. So you'll have your character will have those skills. The skill points and stats that you built on New Legacy will transfer right over to production. I was reading a thread where it was like, because New Legacy is different, like the swordsmanship skill that you have on New Legacy is not going to work on production or something like that. And like it was a completely different code base and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Do you see how
No,
we
you'll
overthink these things?
yeah, it's we wouldn't do. Gosh, we go. That would be a nightmare from our end. But you'll be able to transfer with those characters. The skills that you gain on New Legacy, you can use within the context of how skills work on production. And then once we reach the end of the quote unquote shattering period, the broader shard experience as a whole will be closed off. And the specific New Legacy kind of new player onboarding experience will take its place. So,
Okay.
what that basically means is that the shard itself is never going to go down uh, permanently. Now, there probably is going to be some downtime when we go through the switchover, but the intent is to always have a New Legacy shard available for players to begin their journey on, build their characters in some way, and then be able to transfer off to production. Now, whether or not that's playing through the whole season or just playing through like we call it the first 15 minutes, basically the introductory narrative stuff, because that is the most fleshed out new player onboarding experience we have, and we don't want to build another one.
Hmm.
So you'll have that available, and then as the new season resets, then we open up the rest of the shard again, and off we go.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, I'm making a verbal note here. If y'all need to listen to that again, rewind and listen to that. Okay, I don't want to hear any more argument over this. I don't want to hear any more speculation. This is what happens. Now, my biggest thing was wondering how long the shard was going to be down. So it's good to hear that you guys have that in mind, where there's always going to be a new legacy shard or something for us to play on.
Yeah, and that's it's kind of changed from what our original inception was, um, because we want to keep that new player onboarding experience available. So we kind of have to rework how we're going to transition from one season to another. But yeah, the that's all in active development, and the same timeline that we talked about originally is still in place. So you're
Beautiful.
looking at. Well, let me see. Let me consult my schedule here.
Here, and I'm going to open us up a gate to our next spot really quick as well.
Yep, looking at like later this fall.
That's embarrassing. Don't do that in front of Greg.
Oh, I was idle for too long. I got kicked out. Forgot to walk around. Not used to being idle this long and getting the boot.
Yeah,
There we go.
You're supposed to be using some sort of special account that lets you negate all the rules.
It's funny. I forget what we were doing. I think it was on New Legacy or something during development. I had to change something because we when we build things, we have our like God clients and everything like that. But when we test it with a regular player character, right? And it's a regular, internal play account and all that. And one of the things that was really annoying is the character kept timing out because I'd tinker with something, then go back and do it, tinker with something, go back and do it. So Steven helped me change the shard configuration to like change the timeout to like a bazillion seconds. And I guess it was I don't know, probably a Friday or something. And I'll work random times, so I really won't ever like turn the computer off. Um, and I must have left the character logged in because I was like, I had some friends over and they were like, "Hey, man, do you have like a horse in your house or something?" Because there was a horse in the background that kept going, making a little kneeing sound.
Oh, I love that. So this is Sinopolis. This was a player-ran community long before I was ever part of Sonoma. Um, but I have a goal with this place. I mean, the foundation, all the cool stuff is still here. There's only one house left in this little place. So I've been thinking I might move out of Tacono and like kind of try to repopulate this little area. I'm just in love with everything here.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. Where are we?
Let's look here. Pull up my map. I don't know.
We're in Malice.
Yeah,
Somewhere.
outside of what is that? We're not that far off the main path from the town. Let's look here.
Oh, I see where we are. Okay.
Yeah. Umbra's like just down in the corner of when I expand my map here. Umbra's just down there. I don't know a lot of the history of this place. I've been looking, like it's hard to find a lot of details about it, but I really, like I said, I would like to repopulate it and kind of bring back the little player community here.
That was what Malice was originally. I wasn't on the team. I was a junior in high school when this launched. But originally, Malice was really built to support those player communities, or at least that's what the the team at the time told us. And when it first launched, it was a huge landmass. So there was a huge gold rush for placing houses.
Yes.
And at one point, like my guild had something like 50 houses on Malice. Um, but the downside to it was also when customizable housing came out. So every single house was basically an 18 by 18 Borg cube.
Yep.
And that turned a lot of people off because it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, like the aesthetic, right? Like there's always a danger with player generated content. And it's very time consuming for us to like curate and build houses that basically act like an HOA, which we don't want to do. So that turned a lot of people off to the whole thing, and eventually people moved back to Cram or and then Luna and whatnot.
I noticed that sentiment amongst the community. The lack of being able to put the keeps and things like that really kind of was off-putting for people. And it is what it is. But in my opinion, I mean, it's opened up the land to places or people like me who want that aesthetic. I think if all custom houses were in Sinopolis, it would look better than having a mix match. It just kind of comes down to, like you said, establishing a little bit of an HOA and keeping things kind of tidy. Speaking
There you go.
of some
You just
things,
need to open up some more accounts, get all your buds, open up some more accounts, and build some more houses, and you can bring Sinopolis back.
hey, I've got 3, but I'm not getting rid of the castle. The castle's got to stay. I'll leave Takono and I'll fire up my 3rd account. But yeah, we used to have quite an established like guild housing structure in Takono, but it ended up fizzling out a little bit when I went through one of my moves and just wasn't really able to be active, which it's you've got to be active to be a guild master these days. So one thing that I really love that you guys have done is the roadmap roundtable. I've visited some of the past I don't know, the player Q&As or whatever they are, and they always they just didn't seem to carry this same vibe that this roundtable thing did. I just kind of want to know, like, where did this idea come from? It was a different experience for me, and it was a positive experience. So I kind of hope it's something that's sticking around.
Yeah, it's definitely going to stick around. Our next one will probably be uh, in the lead up during or near post 120 launch period.
Okay.
The idea came because I wanted to make sure that we were connecting with the community, which we've always done a very good job of doing. But I wanted to do it in a format that was a little bit more accessible. It kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier about how people consume their gaming
Mhm.
time now, and also how they consume uh, game-related media in general, which, to be honest, isn't all that different than how it was when I was playing UO as a adolescent and teenager. The only thing that's different now is the platform, right? So back in the day, it used to be you'd play UO from say 3:45 in the afternoon, or when I would get home from school until probably like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then I would wake up and I would print out all of the forum messages from my guild's internal forum because there obviously is no smartphones.
Right.
So I would read the forum posts on the bus to school. And the whole idea was that you were staying connected to the game experience and to the community even if you couldn't be there, right?
Right.
Fast forward to now, and we still do the same thing. It's just now we do it without having to read the words. Now we listen to the words and we have conversations about the words, and we call those things podcasts and we call those things audiobooks. So being able to take advantage of that to make sure that we are continuing the conversation around this incredible product and the incredible community that are part of it, but also in such a way that we are bringing the conversation about this UO to the top of the heap, because this is the only Ultima Online, right? Like
Yes.
that is a hard fact. So we want to make sure that when people are talking about Ultima Online, it's this Ultima Online, because it's like, do you want Coca-Cola or do you want, I don't know, whatever that knockoff stuff is that they sell on the bottom shelf of the supermarket? Me, I'm an OG Coke guy. So that's where that all kind of came from, and we'll continue to do that to make sure that we're having that conversation and we're sharing our vision for what UO is, so that whether it's players that are currently engaged or some folks that have maybe stepped away for a while, or if you're brand new and looking for an experience that has been often replicated but never duplicated, you can find a home right here in sunny Britannia. I guess depending on what town you go to.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't call Umbra too sunny, but yeah.
Well, I'd say Trinsic is probably the sunniest town. Um,
Wait,
yeah,
really? Over New Magencia, you would say?
yeah, I guess. Well, New Magency is pretty. I mean, I guess New Gelm has got to be the sunniest. It's literally a beach, and there's a sultan, right? And he's not going to set up his like sultanship in a place that's cold. Like sultans are warm. They're sultans are warm liking monarchs. So
Yes, that is true. That is true. So while we're talking about upgrades with the classic client and the upgrade to the way you guys are approaching how you're putting the media out there and things like that with the roundtable, you've also brought up the fact that you're upgrading the website and the forums. Um, is this just to help make it easier for players to get the information and updates needed? Is it just going to kind of streamline everything and just kind of be modernized like everything else you guys are kind of aiming at?
yeah, sense there's the biggest issue with the website is that it crashes all the time. You'll notice that it goes down and it stays down. We have to go kick it. Part of that is the back content management suite that and how it's built. So we have to fix that. So that's part of it. The other part of it is the forum software that we use is basically end of life.
Okay.
So we have to transition to a new forum software in order to keep them rolling. So that's part of it too. As far as like changes to how the website functions or anything like that, there's not going to be really any kind of major updates to it in terms of its functionality.
Okay.
It'll still serve as essentially a bulletin board for us to share news and things like that. Um, what will change is the wiki. The plugin that we use for the wiki doesn't port over, so we have to have a new wiki solution, and that's gonna take some time to port over. We'll be able to preserve the data, but it's not going to be a one-to-one kind of transition. So there will be some growing pains in there, but fortunately, we've got an incredibly dedicated and talented wiki team headed up by the illustrious Mariah, who uh, does so much for us. So
That's beautiful.
I expect it'll be fully operational in due time because we obviously want to preserve that information.
So, as an ex forum admin, I ran my own forum for years and years and years. I do not miss having to deal with the upgrades and the database swaps, and that stuff was just nerve wracking. Afraid you're going to lose so many years of everything. So, I don't look forward to. I wouldn't look forward to it, but I'm sure you guys have it, and you're totally confident you're not going to lose a single thing.
I'm not going to say anything. Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm glad. I'm
I've
glad
learned.
that plague exists across like the internet, not just small time forum guys like me. Like it's scary. Okay, so we have a few more questions, but I'm gonna open my book here. We have places we need to go still. So this one, we're not gonna stay here long. So I'm not gonna ask questions while we're here because we're just gonna
Okay.
go. We're gonna go look and then we're gonna get out of here because it's scary.
Oh man, a red gate. I'm gonna
Yep.
get PK.
I hope not. I'm insured though. So I love this. This is the stable I prefer to use. I don't know anything about the player community that used to be here except for what this little memorial stone says. And again, this is just, one of those things in this game that you guys have kept alive all these years that just, it's not going to waste. I want you guys to know that all the little things that are left in this game are definitely still cherished by the player base.
Well, I think that's one of the. I've read so many threads over the years. It's like you need to merge shards. You need to do this, that, and the other thing. And it's like we're never going to do that because part of what makes UO so special is the fact that it is essentially become a living history museum, and a lot of these little monuments and Easter eggs and stuff like that are the reason why, right? It goes back to the original um, video that they put together in the trailer, where you know each remnant of the gem was its own copy of Sosaria with its own people's history and destiny. So, this kind of stuff is so special, and every shard's got it, which is so cool.
I agree, and I'm totally not panicking trying to cast a spell to get out of here.
I know. What's your magery, noob? Like
Oh,
10?
jeez, I can't believe it's happening in front of you like this. So many times. Oh, this isn't where I meant to go. So we got the EM hall. We do all our stuff here. Again, I just want to reiterate how much, not only Sonoma, but how much the player base loves the EM program. I just want to reiterate that, and I may or may not be infatuated with our current EM as being one of the best I've ever experienced. So I'm just throwing that out there. I had to gloat a little bit.
Now, we are very lucky to have the EM program. Bonnie does a fantastic job with them. And the fact that we have this program after, I really don't want to count the number of years, but, it started, I got the email that I was going to become an EM in December of 2008. And by January, or probably January or February of 2009, we were rocking and rolling. So that's many years. And that's one of the things that makes us special.
It's the closest thing I've ever experienced to Dungeons and Dragons in a game, and it's literally just a huge standout feature for this game. So, yeah. You know what? This is embarrassing. It's because I'm not breathing fresh air. That's why I'm fizzling so much. It's indoor casting. There's problems with that. So I've been warned. Here we go.
It used to be everybody assumed your casting success was rated on how well fed you were, and people swore by it. Turns out that that's not actually true.
No, I part of me has always wondered about. You know what? Part of me has always wondered about the eating mechanic of this game. I've always found it interesting, and I sometimes think I just eat for fun, which is like what I do in real life, anyways.
There you go. There used to be, probably still there, used to be like 10,000 of every like food item in these halls on the fell side. I used to go there and get free food.
I want to know what you did to my character to. There we go. I was in too close proximity to you, I think, was the issue there. All right. So
if the EM halls are no gate, it might be.
Oh, that could be it too. I just not close. I was too close. So this is just one of the few epic plots left here in Tacono. This is just where we had like our little loop of houses and everything. So I figured we'd come here, hang out for a minute, and kind of finish up the last few questions, and just I don't know, just kind of end here. There's a lot more places I wanted to show you, but I feel that with the impending move to Sinopolis that I feel coming, we might as well end here because this house won't exist for much longer. So some of the last few questions I have for you, they're pretty basic stuff, the idea behind the anniversary rewards this year. Now, a friend of mine told me that you may be that they're seem to be based off like real life anniversary items. Am I missing this? Am I just now learning that that's what you guys have been doing all these years?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, yes, they are in fact based on real life wedding anniversary gifts. There is a website that I found years ago. I couldn't even tell you when. That it wasn't like one of the big wedding websites. It was like this thing was like a GeoCities from like the 90s.
Okay, you're talking my style there.
Yeah, I think like an Angel Fire address of somebody who put together this list of all of the traditional wedding anniversary gifts, because everything's fine from like year 1 through say like 10, and then it goes 15, 20, 25. Well, obviously we've got an anniversary every year, and we wanted some semblance of like an easy Like, what can we base the anniversary gifts off of? And we found this list, and we just started hammering away. And this year, it just happens to be orchids. So that's where the gifts come from. Let me see if I can find the website.
I'm
It's
I
buried somewhere.
like that's great information to know, and I love knowing things like that. But now I have to tell this person they were right, and I'm gonna struggle with that a little bit. But she's usually right anyway, so I'm sure she'll be used to hearing me say that. Um, Now, one of the questions that I put in here, as far as stuff that's going on, it's not necessarily about digital player rewards. It's something a little different. So my question basically was: is there any special events or ways for the community to look back and celebrate the journey of UO? And I think what I'm referring to is not necessarily digital in-game items, and you can't see it on my stream right now, but I have this Ultima Online 15th anniversary poster hanging on my wall. It's got golden signature, not only from you, but many devs at the time, Masana, just tons of people. I also have a signature of some other, I think they were GMs or something, on a placard type thing from an old meeting. Now, I'm infatuated with this piece, with this poster, this 15th anniversary piece here. Is there any chance we're ever going to see anything like that? That's what that question. I don't feel like I was very specific when I sent you that question, but that question. I want to know: are we ever going to get touchable
Oh,
paraphernalia?
really? Um, well, I mean, in theory, yeah, it's possible. We've dabbled with the kind of real world merch thing in the past. It gets a little sticky for us in some situations,
Okay.
but what is possible, um, depending on what the art needs are at the time, is we could definitely do this for this year's anniversary. Is we can get one of our very talented artists to put together a digital asset
Mm-hmm.
for the anniversary. It probably wouldn't be as robust as, say, like the 15th anniversary lithograph or the one we did for Eodon or anything like that, because those are like huge digital paintings that take a lot of time.
Right.
But if they were smaller scale, we could make those files available and you could print them out at your leisure. So you could at least have something to hang on your wall. Like, I definitely think that would be really cool. As far as other like types of merchandise and things like that, I'd have to go dig into that a little bit more and see what would be reasonably possible. From a personal perspective, I love feelies. That's what
Yes.
they're quote unquote called.
Feelies. I
Um,
love that.
yeah, there's when I was finishing my undergraduate degree, and one of the courses I took was creative writing because it seemed like an appropriate thing to take if I was going to go and do this full time. And I found some research articles that talked about the kind of relationship that you can build between a narrative and the feely, and it goes back across like multiple different media types. Like, it goes back to like Cracker Jack boxes and cereal boxes and things like that. And I was like, yeah, that stuff is awesome. Happy Meals from McDonald's, right? Like, what a way to sell completely unhealthy cheeseburgers and French fries. Put a toy in the box. Sign me up.
I need my beanie
Um,
baby. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Oh gosh, yeah, Beanie Babies. So, from a personal perspective, I love all that stuff. One of the things that we're going to do uh, once I just uh, started unpacking a bunch of stuff I haven't had in storage, and I've got so much UO stuff. So one of the things we want to do is Serena's going to do a stream where we kind of do a show and tell of
Oh,
all of our UO stuff from over the years. Um, Partly, it was an idea I had so that it would encourage me to unpack all this stuff.
I
But
that's
yeah, I
huge,
love.
Greg. That's seriously. I mean, that's huge right there. The community would eat that up.
So we're going to try and do that probably next month. I think we were looking at getting that on the schedule. At least that's what I'm telling myself, because then that's going to encourage me to go empty my storage unit where all this stuff has been. I had to do
That's
some work in my house, so it's all gotten packed away.
that's awesome. I've actually, with all my moves and everything, I've never technically packed any of my Feely UO memorabilia. I literally put it in the passenger seat of my car. I'm like, you're staying here. You're not getting damaged. I will not, like, if I was to lose that poster with everybody's signatures and all, like, your personal touches on it, I would probably cry a very sad tear. So, like, yeah,
When I
it's
moved out of the last house that I lived in, the very last thing left on the wall were all of my Ultima cloth maps.
oh,
The original one from when the Charter edition of UO shipped, with my UO pewter pin attached to it. Um, the one that launched with, I think it was the second age. No, was the second age map? That one might have been paper. I think they did
that
one for
that was paper
Age of
folded.
Shadows, maybe, and then a couple of the single player games. But it was all my cloth maps, okay? And they were on the wall. And I told my landlord, who also happened to be my uncle at the time, I will be out of this place on this day, and you can send your cleaning crew in after this day and do whatever you need to do. Great. Just by chance, I happened to go over to the house and I saw there was a car in the driveway. I go inside and I see my cloth maps hanging out of a trash bag
Oh my god.
because the guy who he'd sent over there to clean up assumed they were garbage and he like pulled them off the walls. And I went ballistic. I felt bad afterwards, but the guy had no idea like what was going on. And I called my
Uh,
own. I was like, "What are you doing?" Those are my most prized possessions. I mean, I guess in fairness, I shouldn't have. But the whole point was I left them on the wall because I was literally going to like take them off one by one, and I figured the wall would be the safest place until I moved them to the new wall. He decided to jump the gun on the clean out, and I was
uh,
like, "Oh no!" But they were fortunately saved, and
good
all, 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 all that, everything was fine. All's
man.
well that ends.
That could have been crushing. That could have been
Well,
crushing.
it would have been the worst moment of my life since I dropped the 1,000 piece Lego medieval castle set when I was like 10.
I mean, you were 10, but that would be a hard one to forgive, honestly. Like
Right.
that's a tough one, Greg. I might have to edit that out of the final video so people don't know that you did that, but yeah, yeah. No. um so my last set of questions was the future vision and new legacy, and you've really covered those with the things we've talked about. So I'm not going to reiterate any of that stuff. I just I just want you to know that even though sometimes the community may sound a little sassy, that as far as I can tell and everything I've heard, everybody is absolutely in love with everything you're doing. So we hope you guys keep it up, and if there's ever anything we can do as a community to assist, we want to help. So just keep rocking, and I just appreciate you giving me your time of day to hang out and let me show off my love, Sonoma.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, one of the biggest assets that we have, and I keep saying this, is our community, right? We just make the toys for the sandbox. What makes the sandbox fun to go back and play in is the fact you get to do it with your friends. So, what you and the other content creators are doing is an immense boost to our presence. So, anything we can do to support you guys and keep talking about UO, we definitely appreciate it. We love all of you, and we're here to make sure that this community thrives for the next generation.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Everybody, that was the man himself, Kyronix. You heard correctly. He's on board with us. He's one of us. He's one of us. And I think if after this interview, if y'all don't see that the direction this game is going is still in the direction that we want it to, then y'all just y'all need to stop. You're being naughty at that point. So, in all seriousness, again, I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything, and I will have this up on YouTube tomorrow for everybody who couldn't make the live stream today. So, again, Greg, thank you so much, and until next time.
Thanks so much for having me. Have a great night.